lay the groundwork to help as far as if for some reason you don't do as well as what you would have liked to on midterm. That's why I'm kind of trying to throw out several opportunities. One is that your study guide, your completed study guide, will count as a test grade. Okay. So as long as you follow along, you write your answers as we do it together, we are going to do, I don't know, I'd say between 75 and 80% together, and then you're going to wrap up what's left. Okay. So I don't really think I'm asking that much, but you're really getting graded based on what you do yourself. So if you choose not to finish up the remaining questions, that's where the grade's really going to hurt you. Hold on.
Freshman with the last name A through H who has not brought their Chromebook and charger to the cafeteria, please bring it up now. If you have not brought your old Chromebook and the old charger to switch it out for your new one, please bring it up now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me pop this off to go over a few things so that you can make sure everybody can hear me. Okay. So again, the biggest thing besides introing into our next and last unit before midterm, again, it's getting into that midterm study guide and getting ready for next Tuesday. Okay. The other opportunity that I attempted to throw out there, I think I only had 3 or 4 actually take me up on it, was the extra credit option that closed yesterday for the first opportunity. The second opportunity has been posted. You'll have the month of March if you're interested in the second opportunity. Just keep in mind that you've got a lot of major grades that are going to go on second and third 6 weeks. And because of how everything falls, it will be honors project 2 and 3. That will both go on second 6 weeks. So that's already 2 major project grades, your study guide grade, your midterm grade, not to mention a few other things that are coming. So just keep that in mind. And again, given the circumstances, that's why I'm trying to offer extra credit opportunities. They are opportunities. I encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities, but again, that's completely up to you. All right. And they all will be different. So if you didn't like the idea of doing the movie thing, which was the first one, then maybe, I don't know, maybe you are a culinary artist and you would like to do the second opportunity, which is fixing a Great Depression recipe, which if you go back and you think about the Great Depression, if you know anything about it before we get to it, you know that everything's very limited. All right, you are very limited to what you're going to be able to find as far as ingredients and resources. So they didn't waste anything. That is the biggest thing that you will get out of the Great Depression, is those that are struggling are not going to waste anything. All right, it's kind of like, here's a great reference. All right, is that whenever the toilet paper shortage hit, the great toilet paper shortage of 2020, all right, when that hit, we learned how precious that roll is. And somebody was talking about, that now it's like, you just a couple squares. That's all I need just to make sure in case something ever happens again. I'm good, right? You're very conservative now, right? Same thing during the Great Depression. They learned to be very conservative about what they used and how much they used. Nothing went to waste. And one of the recipes is sugared orange peels, because again, they didn't waste anything. And so after you ate the orange, you kept the peels, and they learned to use the peels. And again, it's candy it. And I'm not a culinary individual myself, but turned the peels into a candy. And again, did not waste anything. So you will look at some of the, if you just look at it, you don't have to make anything if you don't want to, but if you just look at these recipes and you go through the ingredients list, there's not a lot of ingredients in any of these recipes, but it's all based on what you would have been able to have found, and a lot of it's still in limited supply. Okay. The March calendar is out. I'm going to try and stick to it as much as possible. The only thing is, and I kind of debated whether or not I wanted to get into World War II before we hit the pause button to get into spring break. but I'm just gonna feel out how things go. We might just quickly intro it and then hit it hard once we come back from spring break. Spring break is at the end of March. So there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel to come, is that we got a break to look forward to.
Will that be the end of the term for this one, or will that be before, will it be before spring break?
I should know that because I looked that up, because one thing that I didn't realize until I was looking at my Google Calendar is that I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong on this. It's either next week or the week after. We already have to have progress reports that we're already just about halfway through the second 6 weeks. So I don't know. I can look it up in a minute and see where we're going to be at. But does anybody, before we get started, does anybody want copies of anything? If you didn't get it last week, does anybody want copies of any 1920s stuff? Because I don't remember who I asked last week and who I didn't. Oh, and study guide. If you may want paper copies of study guide too. So let me get all the things. Hold on a minute, because I removed everything. Okay. All right, hold on. I've moved everything around. I've got to figure out where I put my 17 stuff. All right, well, let's do study guide first. You may want a paper copy of the study guide. Where I throw these out really quick, and then we'll get rolling. And I'll figure out where I set down the 17 stuff. You're welcome. There we go. You're welcome. All right, so with 17, again, because we are doing a lot of multitasking, see if I can figure out where I put it. Doggone it. All right, I tell you what, I might have to look here in a minute for it because I'm really bad about putting stuff down and forgetting where I put it. Okay, all right. Oh, and the other thing, does anybody want a paper copy of honors project number 3? That's what these instructions are. Honors project number 3 is the scrapbook project. I know it's not as easy to see examples on computer versus in person, but and again, you've got the option of either doing an actual scrapbook or doing the Google Slide version. And I put those modified instructions in Google Classroom. But if you want to look at any of the tangible examples, I've got that as well. Okay. All right, questions, comments, or concerns? I'll get you the 17 stuff once we get going. Anything? All right, so here's what we got. Here's what we're doing. We're going to hit bell ringer, talk about bell ringer. We are going to very briefly intro to the 1920s. Review for your quiz, knock your quiz out, and then we'll just see how much time we have left. So I'm going to share my screen with those of you that are with me. Where's that? Share screen. All right, let's talk about your bell ringer and then let's roll on. I've probably taken up too much time talking already. All right, how do you make this thing move? There it is. Okay. All right, bell ringer question says, what changes are still needed in post-war America? And to be honest with you, I can't remember if I've asked this question already or not, but anyway, it's okay. It's fine. We're going to go on with it. The biggest change that still needs to be made is the fight for equal rights. All right, fight for equal rights. We still have segregation. We still have separation of the races. That's a big one. Other changes that still need to be made, social issues, still having fighting political corruption. A lot of the things that the progressives were working on, and we kind of had to hit the pause button because we got into World War I. So civil rights is a big one. Political corruption, still working on fixing that. And then still working on that big wealth gap, the gap between the haves and the have-nots. So those are the big 3. There's more than just that, but we're going to hit just the big 3 for today. And our economy is about to be on a major roller coaster ride. All right. We were trying to really conserve and ration during the war. We're going to hit that inflation of prices after the war. Everything kind of levels out, and we have an economic boom in the mid 1920s, and everything will come crashing down 1929 and after, once we hit the Great Depression. Okay. All right, that is your bell ringer for today. I hope do I have it pulled up? I think I do. Like I said, we're going to do a very super quick intro into the 1920s, and then we'll hit it hard the rest of the week before we review and get you ready for your quiz today. All right, if you have the packet of notes and you want to follow along with me, like I said, I'm not going to be in it that long, just to hit kind of some of the highlights. Oh, no, my bad. That's not it. It's not it. All right. Y'all close your eyes for a minute. Don't look at my emails. I just got to pull something up real fast.
I think that the Wi-Fi's acting up.
Is it? Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Of course it would.
Because
That's
it's
my
not
luck.
letting me turn anything in on my iPad.
Uh-huh.
So I have to do it on my phone.
I got you.
Did you get that? Well, I don't know.
If you have the packet of notes, it says return to normalcy, but I don't, my page number is a little bit different. 63, thank you. 63. So give me just a minute on this before we hit the review and get you ready for your quiz today.
Are we going over any of the study guide today?
Depending on time. I hope that we are able to get a chunk.
Okay.
That's my plan. That is my plan. Okay. All right. Like I said, I'm trying to pace myself so that we can get as much in as possible. Okay. All right. This is what we talked about very briefly last week. We talked about Warren G. Harding coming in and winning the 1920 election. He wants to get back to a time before the war, and he talks about getting back to, quote, normalcy, get back to normalcy. So we're going to go back to our isolationist policies. Again, that's a good review from chapter 14 and 15. Isolationism is where we go back to worrying about just us. We do not get into other foreign affairs. We've got the Washington Conference that happens in 1921, where we are proposing that if all nations are truly in a time of peace, that everybody will start to demilitarize. All right, and not to the point that you don't have a military anymore. I just mean that you do not need that surplus that you got during having volunteers and drafting. So cutting down on our military, and then we push out 1929, the Kellogg-Briand Treaty, which outlaws war. Now, it sounds like a great idea if you're working towards world peace, but is it realistic? Is it realistic to say no more war? We're not going to have any more war. No. All right. So this isn't going to last very long, especially if you know European history and you know how early in the 1930s World War II will actually get started. Not so much the fighting, but the steps working towards the fighting will start. New high tariffs. Again, this is kind of another way for us to isolate ourselves, and we start pushing for people to buy American made, right?
Freshmen with the last name I through M who have not received their new Chromebook, please bring your old Chromebook and your old charger to the commons area now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And the last thing on here is the National Origins Act, to where we are starting to limit immigrants that are coming into the United States. We are limiting not just the percentage, like the number that we're allowing in, but we're also limiting the countries that they're allowed to come in from, for obvious reasons. All right. We're very anti-Central Powers countries, right? We are, very limited on whether or not we should accept any from Germany, what was formerly Austria-Hungary, which got chiseled apart at the end of World War I and so on. So the National Origins Act of 1921 is going to set a quota. We base it off the 1910 census. What is a census? What is a census? Population survey. Yeah, population survey. You may know how often we do a census. Every 10 years, exactly. Just happened one in 2020. So we got that information off of the 1910 census on how many immigrants we had from each country. All right, like I said, one more thing that I want to talk about before we move on, and we actually looked at some of this that was in your packet from last week on that last section. But now that we have gotten back to business as normal in the United States, we're going back to fighting for things that we had kind of put the pause button on because we're in a time of war. So we still have issues with long working hours and low pay. It does not happen until Great Depression time for us to actually put in place a set working hours, a set minimum wage, and start looking at benefits. So this fight is about to pay off, but it's still taking us a while to get there. Again, wartime inflation, prices are still high on necessities. Technology, the very beginning of technology is starting to take over and replace people. Obviously, we see that a lot more in today's day and time with technology. But we've got a couple of big strikes that happen. This one's one of the more interesting ones. The Boston police strike of 1919 is that there were like 75% of the police force walked off the job. And Coolidge, who was governor at the time, like freaked out. He's like, y'all can't do that. You either get back to work right now or you're going to be fired. Like, I am not even talking raise right now because these police officers, by walking off the job, are putting civilians' lives in jeopardy. You know, because I just imagine a full-blown purge movie situation happening. You know, like if nobody's monitoring safety, it's just going to be kind of a free-for-all. So Coolidge tells them you either go back or you're going to be completely fired. You don't even have to worry about a job anymore or what your pay is, right? And then the other big one is the coal miners strike. They want higher pay. They end up winning a 14% raise. Because again, just reminding us how hard their job is, how physically demanding their job is, and of course the safety issues in coal mining. You know, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of individuals are going to die at a very early age because they're ingesting all that while they're working in the coal mines. Again, very hard labor job as well. And the last thing is talking about open shops. The idea that unions are pushing for there to be open shop, not unions, but the government's pushing for open shops. A closed shop is to where a company will only hire you if you're a member of a labor union. And that's what these labor unions wanted. That way you would negotiate with just the labor union and not the individual workers. But that's illegal today because you can't make somebody join an organization just to get a job. You can't do that. That's taking away your free will. And obviously we cannot say we have freedom and justice in the United States if we're taking away your free will and making you do something, right? So those are the big ones. As much as I'd rather keep going, we better stop. And then we'll finish the rest of this page tomorrow. So as soon as you get that, like I said, my yellow is the extra stuff on this page. As soon as you get that, go ahead and hit the pause button on notes. We'll come back and finish the rest of that page tomorrow. Go ahead and put everything up for me. You do have the option. You can either take the quiz on paper or you can pull it up through SchoolNet, whichever one. But if you're experiencing internet issues, it might be easier just to bust it out on paper anyway. That's what I would suggest. But again, tomatoes, tomatoes, whatever you want to do, doesn't matter to me. All right, let's do this. Let's do a quick review, get you ready for your World War I quiz, and move on with our day. All right, I'm gonna grab my cheat sheet so I remember what I was gonna ask you. A lot of them were in your review game from last week. Okay. All right, so like I said, I'm gonna walk through this quiz with you. All right, it only hits the highlights. I'm going to make sure I go over the ones that might trip you up a little bit, so make sure that you're paying attention, especially on those, because there won't be an excuse to miss it or not get it, rather, if I've given you the answers. All right, let's see how you do. President Wilson creates what he calls his peace plan. What does he call that peace plan? What's it called? Remember? Anybody online?
14 points.
It is 14 points. Good. Wilson's peace plan is known as the 14 points. Unfortunately, most of it does get ignored. Let's see. All right, there's a lot of vocab on here. We'll see how much of it you remember, okay? Of your IDs. At least it's multiple choice, all right? I don't make you do fill in the blank. All right, to prevent strikes from disrupting the war effort, the government is going to establish what organization? It's going to be known as the NWLB. Anybody remember what that stands for?
National War Labor. What did you say the last one? B?
B.
Labor.
Board. Very good. Fantastic. That's teamwork. That's teamwork right there. The National War Labor Board is going to be there to stop strikes from happening during a wartime effort. All right, now, here's the couple of questions I told you last week might trip you up. So, we talked about these groups as the Central Powers versus the Allies, but I also told you that they were also known by another name. All right, so what group is known as the Triple Entente? And this is talking about at the very beginning of World War I.
No, that's Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Germany. Right? That's not the triple entente.
Isn't it France, Britain, and Russia?
France, Great Britain, and Russia. Yeah, I had to say it out loud to make sure. Yeah. All right, yeah, so the Triple Entente is also known as the Allies. Triple Entente, Great Britain, Russia, and France. So then who would the Triple Alliance
That's what I was thinking.
be? Germany,
Empire, Austria.
Ottoman Empire, Austria-Hungary. Make sure I say that again. All right, Triple Alliance, also known as the Central Powers, is Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire. There we go. Fantastic. We got it. Let's see. Lost my place. Where was I at? Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that. The event that would be the first domino to fall to spark World War I. What is it? It is the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, but let's finish that. He is heir to the throne of what country? Austria-Hungary. Did you say that? You might have said that already. Yeah, you got to make sure you know that whole piece to get it right, because again, there's a couple that are tricky if you don't know all the pieces. All right, this was on the review game, and I'm pretty sure I hit this question. I'm almost positive. This was like a fun fact I had on there. To conserve energy during World War I, the Fuel Administration introduced what? It's getting ready to change again here in a few weeks.
Oh, daylight savings.
Daylight savings time. Very good. All righty. Women during World War I will be part of the military, not in actual physical fighting, but what two jobs would you imagine that women would actually be doing? Nurse. Good. Nurses, and another one. Similar to secretaries, they're doing clerical work. They're the ones that are typing up all the messages that are having to be sent all the places. But yeah, good job. Let's see. One of the major conditions of the Treaty of Versailles was what? This is a big one.
Pay war reparations.
Who?
Germany.
Germany has to pay war reparations, but what's another one that Germany has to do?
They have to demilitarize.
Good.
Yeah, and they have to claim responsibility.
There we go. Yes. Yeah. Hit all four of them. All right. They got to claim responsibility, claim blame for the war, pay war reparations. They're going to lose pieces of their empire. And then, what did I not say? Demilitarize. Demilitarize. Yep. That's it. All right. Fantastic. Let's see if you remember this. This was at the very beginning of World War I. According to the Zimmerman telegram, if Mexico allied with Germany, Germany would do what? What reward was Germany going to give Mexico if they picked a fight with us? Give them land back. Give them land back that the U.S. had taken during the Mexican-American War. Give them land back. Good. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Here's another vocab term. Let's see if you remember this one. Selling the war to the American people was the task of what new group? So they are known as the CPI. This one's a tough one. Or the Committee on Public Information. These are all part of your IDs.
Are they the ones that like share the news of the war to the public?
They're the ones, yeah, they're going to be doing that, putting up propaganda posters. Yeah.
Freshmen with the last name N through Z, if you have not brought your old Chromebook to the cafeteria and the old charger, please do it now to receive your new one. Thank you.
All right, now here's one that we did not, and again, it's just because I ran through it as fast as I could. Here's one that's on here that I didn't go over. During World War I, the slogan, "Food will win the war, don't waste it," encouraged Americans to buy only products necessary to live. And I probably should have just changed it to encourage them to build victory gardens, but I didn't. Just conserve. All righty, criticism of the war at home was effectively silenced by what new act? Again, this was part of your IDs, and I think it was even a question too. What new act? You could either be thrown in jail if you're speaking out against the government, or if you're an illegal alien, you could be deported. You may remember this new act. It also included stuff about spying too. It was a two-parter. What's a fancy word for spying? Espionage. Espionage and Sedition Act. Sedition Act is the other part I was trying to get. In World War I, airplanes were first used to do what? Before we strapped a machine gun on them and used them as a weapon. To observe. Very good. All right, the British entered World War I when what happened? So as soon as the war began, all right, we know that France and Russia are going to be the first two ally nations to declare war. Britain drags their feet until Germany does this. Does anybody remember? And I realize, I know this has been over a week ago since we talked about it. No, I'll throw you a bone. As soon as Germany crosses into neutral territory, because Germany has to go through Belgium and the Netherlands to get into France. As soon as they went into neutral territory, Great Britain declared war because, again, you know, they're breaking laws by doing that. All righty, during World War I, blank were battles in the air between aircraft with attached machine guns. This was a fun fact, and I honestly don't remember if I ever said it. The nickname given to airplanes having fights in the sky. They're called dog fights. Yeah, but I honestly don't remember if I ever said that. My bad. Well, I'm telling you the answers now. It's all good. What was used to defend soldiers against the use of mustard gas and chlorine bombs during World War I? What did we have to make? Had to make gas masks. Good. All right, last few, and again, this is all multiple choice and matching. Let's see how you do. Again, what do we say? A fancy word for spying is espionage. What could the U.S. citizens buy to loan the government money during the war? But yes, but what do we call them to make them sound patriotic? Liberty bonds. Liberty bonds, yeah. Hold on, I did it again. I lost my place. All right, Germany's promise not to sink ships without a warning. Sussex Pledge. Good. All right, information designed to influence your opinion, ways for us to advertise. What were those big posters and stuff called? What type of posters were they?
Propaganda.
Propaganda, fantastic. Propaganda posters, awesome. Let's see. All right, last couple, let me make sure I'm not, all right, and again, some of these are repeat questions, so there's no excuse not to get them. Woodrow Wilson's peace plan is called 14 points. Oh, here's the other ID. I knew there was one more. There's another ID that we did that's established to coordinate the production of wartime materials. We're not making lipstick, we're making bullets. We're not making clothes, we're making uniforms. The initials are the WIB. War Industries Board. Fantastic. Awesome. All right, again, repeat question. This led to the deportation of thousands of immigrants. What new act is going to come up? Espionage and Sedition Act. Yeah, it's all together. So once you see one, it's together. So you'll get that. Oh, yeah, let me help you out with this one. The very last thing that we ended on, and I hit it pretty hard and fast when we were talking about the creation of the FBI and Mitchell Palmer and the Palmer raids, because we know the Red Scare also happens after the war ends. So, yeah, we also had, oh, I messed you up on that. The Palmer raids led to deportation, and then you've got the other one that says limited criticism of the war and spying. That's the espionage. Okay, yeah, just watch the wording. Pay attention to the wording. You see keywords, you know which one's the answer for which. Okay, let me say that. Okay. All right, what questions, is there anything that you want me to go back over?
I just want to confirm, so the Triple Entente is the Allies, right? So that's like Great Britain and France, and was it Russia, was that one?
Yeah.
Started.
And see, here's an easy way to remember which one is what. It's the opposite. You see Triple Alliance, you would think that's talking about our friends, but it's the opposite. Those are really who I would call the bad guys. Yeah. So yeah, maybe that'll help when you're trying to remember which is what. It's the opposite of what you would think. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Anything else you want me to go back over? Anybody online? Anything else you want me to go back over? I went through the quiz. Those are the questions on the quiz. I went through the quiz. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Go take the quiz. Have a happy Monday, and I'll see you guys back to get at it tomorrow.